Hey, good morning, Patriots. Another week and another new narrative from the left. Man, oh man. And one of the great narratives of all time is, of course, Hillary Clinton. So I'm wearing my spoiler alert Hillary wins t-shirt forever. I love this shirt. It's so symbolic of who they are. But speaking of someone who was not symbolic of who they are, is Chris Cordani. Good morning, Chris.
That's right. We're our own guys. we're we're not
What's
the
that? I
favorites.
missed. What did you say? Say that again?
I said we're our own guys. There was a great
Yeah, we
quote.
are.
Yeah, there was a great quote
But
from the Shoveler from the
right,
movie no, what was that called? Mystery Men, where they were out to
right.
fight. They were out to fight the evil guys because the most powerful one is killed by them.
Yeah,
But anyway, the Shoveler did this nice, great speech, right, which I believe is the most inspiring speech in movie history. We should do a show on that one day.
we
And
should.
he ends it with,
And
"We're not
Apocalypse Now too.
right." He says, "It's up to us, we few."
Yeah.
And then he ends and says, "We're not the favorites. We're the other guys."
There's a movie about that too.
Yes,
But are we? But are we not men?
we
Let
are
me
Devo.
try this on. Look at this. Oh, that's right.
Nice.
See,
Now that, my friend, is
I've got.
cool.
Yeah. See.
See, I wore my election t-shirt too as well. So
Oh, I got to get one of those. Where did you get that? Where did you get that? I want one of those.
I had it was picked up for me by a really cool friend, and I will have to tell you because I need to find out myself. So I don't know.
Well, find out and let us know. I think a lot of folks who are like us, big fans of The Prisoner, because we're spoiler alert, we are living, we
We
are
are
living,
You're living
we
it.
are living that dream. It's just the
Uh,
village is a bit bigger than on the series. So just saying, but I think we're all making progress. So speaking of progress, man, oh man, what a weekend! Um, some of you follow me on X and Facebook. There's some things happening on the 9/11 stuff. I can't get into detail, but you all kind of see little hints of it here and there. Some big stuff's coming. So we're going to have someone on the show later to talk about a work of fiction, and it's not fiction. He had to write a book that kind of reflected his life. But right, Mike Benz, is that who's coming?
no, it's actually Craig. His
Greg,
name is
sorry,
Cregg Lund. Well,
Cregg Lund. Yeah,
he was a
Craig.
member of the
Sorry,
Sullivan. He was a member of the Silicon Valley elite. He's a tech
that's
genius.
it.
He was recruited into there, and it was a really and this whole thing you may have heard about the vast underbelly of Luciferians who run things over there, who are
Yeah.
extremely wealthy. He was part of it. He's seen it. He witnessed it. He was recruited into it unwittingly in a way, and
So
he tells
So I can ask
all
him
about it.
about members, right? I can ask him about who's, so
I
I
don't know.
guess
We can
I don't know if
say.
we can talk about it or not, but I can ask him, I
I
suppose.
will say this, and you can talk about this one. He did get his teeth smashed in around the time he released the book.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, at least he's still alive, unlike a certain other whistleblower who now committed suicide,
Yeah, that's
which we'll
another
talk
one.
about later.
That
Yeah.
really bothers me. I think we'll talk to him about that
It
too.
bothers a lot of people. We'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, good morning, Patriots. I know I got to get in the chat here. I haven't done it yet. I've been talking. Chris is distracting me again. Chris, why
I
do you
always
always do
do.
that?
That's my thing.
I don't know. I don't know why you do that. Anyway, so what was you wanted to run something? Run the clip.
Well, first off, as we all know, a Maryland judge was arrested, and she was publicly arrested, by the way, and that's a good thing. Set an example. Show these people that they're not above the law, just like Tish James, by the way. We'll get into her too, because I like
Yeah,
to get into her. She a lot of good stuff happening since we signed off,
yeah.
since we last appeared here on
Oh
Wednesday.
well, she and the New York Knicks.
Yeah, well, that's true. My Devils aren't doing very well either, so that's another story for another day. What happened
Yeah.
was the narrative from the media after this woman tried to stop um, immigration and customs enforcement officials from deporting a criminal illegal alien. Those are the keywords:
That's
criminal
correct.
illegal alien. Okay, we're
Criminal.
not sweeping up just everybody, we're sweeping up criminals.
Right.
So she gets arrested for this, and the media predictably decides to defend her.
Yeah.
It gets worse because, as you know, the media does kind of do things on a cookie cutter thing, and they they use words that are handed down by their overlords, if you will. And this keyword of the day, we could I guess we could Pee Wee Herman Playhouse it. It's escalation.
Let's
There's
do
a
that.
Right. There's a neat little video here by it's on Western Lensman's page. Apparently, it was.
It's always good.
Let's play this anyway. You'll see how the word escalation is.
Yeah. This is on my X page too. I posted this too. Yeah.
We begin tonight with the escalation in the president's crackdown on illegal immigration.
Today's dramatic escalation in the Trump administration's conflict with judges.
Dramatic.
The administration signaling a major escalation in its deportation efforts.
Today, an escalation in the Trump administration's battle with the judiciary.
Tensions between local and federal authorities over President Trump's immigration crackdown escalated today.
We begin this hour with a major escalation of the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration.
We begin with what appears to be a major escalation in the Trump administration's deportation efforts.
And what is a major escalation in the battle here in D.C. over immigration and deportation.
This feels like an insane and reckless escalation from the Trump administration.
Yep. Escalation. That's the key word. That's the word of the week now. That's the new narrative word. That's what they're pushing on us.
Yeah.
Escalation.
Yeah. So it's I did look at your prep, but I had posted this before I looked at the prep, and yeah, this is something it's very clear. It's as the Patriots saying, it's Operation Mockingbird, something like 5.0. This has been going on. They redo it every time, and it's horrible. And this is it's apparent. I don't know how people don't see this. And I was tweeting at JoJo from Jersey, that knucklehead, this morning on X, and she said, "Oh, it's so sad. It's 60 Minutes never took the knee." It's like, sweetie, 60 Minutes took the knee before you were born. I mean, come on. This is beyond stupid. Oh, they never took the knee. No, they were the knee.
Yeah, they
were the knee.
Yeah, they were always like what they're doing now. If they didn't even notice from covering for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in recent years, you had the CBS News itself is an organization that 60 Minutes was an arm of that. CBS News, as you know, was fabricating news for a long time. Yeah, look at the what's the frequency Kenneth guy, Dan Rather, fabricating a memo.
Dan
just to make
Rather.
news.
Dan Rather not. Yeah, Dan's still around too. They tried to get me to go on a show one time, and I kind of like,
oh no.
Yeah. So no, this is about, because I used to be. You guys knew this is. I was one of the surrogates of the Trump 2020 campaign, and they never directed us to do things, but we were encouraged to kind of go on hostile media. There's a few hostile interviews out there with me and CNN, just saying. And then BBC, we talked about BBC the other day. It's like, BBC, if you're listening, I'm still going to say no. Just don't bother. But I know you will. You don't listen. They don't listen. They never listen. Anyway, the point being is that they have consistently, on the left, done everything they can to set up narratives. It's never about the truth. And it's like I tweeted on X, whatever you want to call it, that goofy lady who needs hair dye from Oregon. What's her name?
Wait. I was Oregon, huh? I don't really pay attention to Oregon.
I'll get it here in a second.
Oregon reps anymore.
No. But here it is, because she had vowed, Chris, talk about a narrative. She had vowed to never leave El Salvador until the Maryland man was freed.
Well, they couldn't find a Maryland man there, by the way. Nope, couldn't find one. And I think we have a little freezing there, though. We'll get him back here. We'll get Tony back in just a few moments, I think. Okay. Tony, I think you're frozen. So we'll have to work on that. We may have to wait for Tony a little bit here. But yeah, the Maryland man hoax is, it'll continue to be alive and well, even though it has been debunked several times. It's basically something the left has hung their hat on to make the 47%, if you will, make them all believe at this criminal from El Salvador, who is part of MS-13, was actually a nice Maryland man. In fact, let's talk about our friend Scott Jennings from CNN, who schooled a fellow panelist about the Maryland Man hoax. Here we go.
One of the issues that Donald Trump is really under the water, probably his worst issue, is the Maryland Man who is in El Salvador right now. It's something that
Maryland Man?
he is a Maryland Man.
Come
but
on.
What I will tell
he
you
is an El Salvadoran citizen. He is
Okay.
not a Maryland man. He is an illegal immigrant living in this country illegally for 14
you can
years.
Say whatever you want to say, Scott. But the American
this
people.
is why the
hold on,
polling is the
hold
way
on.
it is, because
The
we're
American-
lying.
Harsh.
We're lying.
We're not lying. The American
Scott,
people.
the peace orders were in Maryland. Is why.
She's trying so hard to convince us that this guy was really from Maryland, but she wasn't.
American, even though they have been saying that about him for weeks, that is not penetrating an American. Americans
Actually,
are just
great question.
misled, and that's why they
Great
don't
question.
like how
Yes.
Trump has handled this.
He has been saying that for weeks. And what has the entirety of the national news media been saying? He's a Maryland man. He's a mild-mannered suburban father. We have lied our rear ends off about this case. He is a El Salvador illegal immigrant. He came to the country.
Look at that look on the woman's face. She is like, how dare he say that? Yeah, we all know it. We be smart. But how dare you say that? Because we're trying to push a narrative. This is exactly the look on her face. Can you see it? And he's like, we're tired of this. You know what? If you wanted to say there might be a little bit of government overreach here, you have an argument. We're going to sit down at the table and listen. And that's something about our side that's a lot different from their side. If the left had a point and said, all right, I get why you found this guy. I get why you put this guy away. I get why you sent him to El Salvador. But there might be a tad bit of government overreach we might have to worry about in the future. Yes, I'll sit down and have a discussion with you about it, no matter what side you're on. I may not agree with you, but at least we'll sit at the table and talk. This woman's like, how dare you, Scott? How dare you say he wasn't a Maryland man? That's right, Scott Jennings, Tony. Another point for Scott Jennings. We need him on the Devils
I know.
and the Knicks.
Yeah, so he is awesome and just goes at it with them. And hold on, I was trying to, because this is the same topic. I was trying to find that thing I did with that Oregon. What? Oh, here she is, Congresswoman Maxine Dexter. This is the same point. Maxine Dexter. She's kind of well, let's just say she's not attractive. Can I say that on the air? I think I just did.
She's Representative Delora-esque, if you will, right?
She's in search of purple hair. Let's put it that way. She's like let the color go. So it's like a blank space to put the color. Anyway, it's on my ex. Like, what? Another broken promise from Congresswoman Maxine Dexter. She promised not to leave El Salvador without the Maryland man. So I guess what? So let's circle the square here. So I guess Jennings is correctly pointing out that, hey, that Maryland man thing, it's a lie. So, and then she vowed to like keep herself in El Salvador until. So what's up? I don't understand. What is up with these people? They don't seem to be able to act like adults.
Well, they virtue signal, but when they realize they miss McDonald's and Denny's in the morning, they come home.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. It's true. And they figure, well, we're going to bring him home because he's a Maryland man. When they realize, even Van Hollen was backing off this a bit. The guy who went down there to virtue signal thinking we could score points because the Democrat Party is not only tripping over itself, the guy they elected as its face is tripping the actual party.
Yeah.
First off, James Garfield was right. David Hogg's a twerp. Okay. But he's now destroying his own party. He's running primaries against moderates in his own party.
Look, let me be clear on this. Since I'm a politician, I'm a member of I'm an elected official here. If I were the Democrats, I'd put David Hogg in charge. Let him go. Let him go primary people he doesn't like. I think that's fabulous. I think Carville is of course correct, but it's good for us. Like James, you may be right, but we support David Hogg. I am calling.
This is his future, by the way.
That's his dad. No, so
He's the boss.
That's right. So I am calling. I'm going on record calling for What do they always say? Hands off, David Hogg. Hands off. Leave him alone. Leave the kid alone. He's just a kid. Can't you see that?
I don't know.
He's just a small town girl in a lonely world.
Some people have the face that you just want to punch. It's just a very punchable. And he's one of them. He is definitely one. The other one is that little sissy that they have on that the Democrats keep pushing for somehow. Sisson, yeah. And there's another one. Right? There's another guy with his hair that goes out to the side like this. It's all slick. Now, I know my hair is not perfect. Heck, sometimes my hair looks worse than Jamie Raskin's. I get it. But hey, this guy has his hair. He's like all sculpted, just had that little hair to the side. Pac-Man, I think he's called, which I don't think his last name's Pac-Man. No, that doesn't make sense. He's definitely man.
He packs men, but that we can't talk about that. This is a PG-13 story.
Yeah, but those are the punchable faces. Having said that, I mean, David Hogg is destroying his own party, which is good. I said for us, yeah.
Big thumbs up. No, go David, go David, go. Again, I am calling for the Democrat Party to leave the kid alone. You elected him. Give him a chance. Give him another 2 years. Give him another 2 years.
Hey, Carville, leave that kid alone. All right, there. That's groovy.
There you go. Well, maybe we could get a bunch of stupid Democrats to sit on the steps of Congress and protest. Oh, they did that. They did that already. It didn't do much good. So
yeah, exactly. Well, what I believe he's proposing now, and check this out, and I'm going to double check my sources there, but this is where I was reading very hard, and I had to double check and triple check this whole thing. But breaking news that David Hogg is proposing that the Democrats change their logo to this.
Yeah, why not?
If anybody's seen The Wall, I think you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah. Or if you've seen Nancy Pelosi's husband, he's seen those too close up.
That's right.
Coming at him in 3D, like 3D House of Pancakes from old Second City TV. Would you like some syrup with that?
I got a question from R.D. Bull. Will Hochul poll Peekaboo as New York AG? Well, here's something that's interesting. Kathy Hochul is the ultimate politician. She doesn't care who she steps on. She doesn't care at what cost to the taxpayers, and she doesn't care at what cost to anybody else besides herself. If in fact Letitia James, who by the way this woman has hung her hat on as the person as her proxy to go after Donald Trump, she hung her hat on it. She will drop James like a hot potato if in fact she's convicted. She's gone, and they bring somebody else in whose job would be to just go after Trump's businesses in New York.
Of course,
that would be its own job. And believe me, I'm thinking it would be the proper pronoun.
Yeah. Well, the proper pronoun for Letitia is deep fried and Crisco, right? Isn't that what she goes by?
Yeah, I think so too. But
And by the way, how many? Chris, why do you have a problem with her marrying her dad? I don't understand why you're upset about that. I think it's perfectly fine. So, well, I mean, I don't get it.
At least she could go. She could go the Sorry about my. I have a little
brother route. The brother route.
I have a little tickle in my throat here today. She could go the brother route like Ilhan Omar. There we go. That would be a little better. So,
well, what's better? She could like marry. Maybe she should like go through and marry her brothers and her dad and become Mormon. I think the first black Mormon, I think she could break some ground here. They always want to talk about first. She could be the first black Mormon with an extended family of 5 generations she's married to. I think that would be phenomenal. I
would say she was the first black moron elected to office, but we forgot about Jamal Bowman. So that's another story.
Yeah, he's pretty dim. What is he doing these days? Maybe he could work with David Hogg and really bring some sanity to the party.
Bring some sanity to the party.
They could run around and be checking fire alarms all over the nation. So,
well, the funny thing is, that's the kind of guy that David Hogg would want to put back in. His plan.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right.
His plan was to eliminate moderates in safe Democrat seats, bring in ultra lefties, and in the primaries, not everybody votes, and there is a good chance that 1 or 2, maybe 6 of them of the far left can do what Ocasio-Cortez did to I forgot the guy's name, but he was the third most powerful Democrat.
Yeah, I know. He's like a long time Democrat. Paul. I know.
It was a safe seat for him. He didn't have any primaries. Any primary challenge was no big deal. But this woman knocked on doors, and that's what the Democrats can do. Their far-left progressives don't have jobs, so they can just keep knocking on doors all day.
And hanging out at Home Depot in the parking lot looking for day work. Just saying.
Yep. I remember there was a guy, there was a mayor of New York, Newburgh, Newburgh, New York.
Yeah.
It's important. Small town elections can get turned by any kind of false influence. This guy won his mayorship by giving people free hot dogs who'd vote for him. And this is one of the poorest cities in the country, Newburgh. So we call it the free hot dog vote. While Joe Biden and the Democrats say, well, we're gonna forgive your student loans, which, by the way, that's that went down south, by the way, just recently. And I'm going to say this. It took me extra time to pay off my student loan because my degree was in communications, and we talked about this. A lot of people say my degree was a fake one, but the fact is, I still paid it. It took a longer time, but I paid it. And people who get these gender studies degrees, that's not an investment. I understand investing in the STEMs, maybe giving some of the medical students a break. But
I was thinking about this over the weekend, and let me give some perspective on this because I think you're right. And by the way, the whole hot dog vote, don't bring up Kamala on the show. We can't talk about Kamala and hot dogs. That's Willie Brown type stuff there. So don't get people excited about that. So
well, she runs for president. Anthony Weiner.
They were talking about the tickle in her throat too. Just
well, Anthony Weiner could be her running mate next time if she runs.
That's right. Carlos Danger. What a dick. Anyway, back to the story. So, all right. So you and I shared this, and I think the Patriots share this too. We saw education as a bridge to the future, right? It's like you kind of knew what you wanted to do. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. The whole thing with political science and international studies, like I was already doing, spoiler alert, I was doing spy stuff in college. This is kind of known now. Nobody hides that fact. But I was able, and I'll be honest, the environmental studies thing is like, I kind of like the environment. I'd like to protect it. I had no idea that down the road, they'd be trying to weaponize it against us. So I learned it because city planning's relevant, weather is relevant, understanding climate changes over 11,000 years. It's all relevant. And I enjoyed it, and I use it every day. We talk about it with Jerry, our friend, Dr. Corsi. Jerry and I talk about it all the time. So we saw this as like a means to an end, right? To use a Marxist term.
Yes, that's fair enough.
And so to your point, I didn't have any problem making some payments. I mean, I had a scholarship. The Ohio Guard paid for most of my college. I had no problem paying other money to complete my degree because they cut us off at some point. I don't want to get into that today, but they screwed a bunch of us over. Just saying, I don't want to get into it. But you saw that, hey, this was an investment I made. I need to pay it back off, right? You saw it as something you had to be accountable for, right?
Absolutely. And again, I was different. My path was different from yours. I was in radio. So you make absolutely nothing in radio the first few years. So I had to take 2 or 3 jobs, mostly in radio, but I took maybe a retail job or 2 on the side until things got better full time. Fact is, though, you still have to find a way to pay. I did have to wait a couple of years to start paying because, I was making peanuts. But that's fine. You can get a forbearance, pay a little extra interest, and then you pay it off. And there are ways to do this. And it's not there aren't very high interest loans compared to what we see on credit cards and things like that.
Right. Well, but that's my point. So these other people, the people who got these huge loans, didn't consider, hey, is this degree going to be marketable? Do I have a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Well, no. There was a pot of something, but it wasn't gold. Just saying, right, Chris? It's like,
it was a rainbow. I'll tell you that. A big rainbow.
It's a rainbow. There's a rainbow, but you get there, it's like, oh, welcome to Target. Welcome to running, electronics. You got a degree. Wow, you got a master's. Let's put you in charge of automotive. These people didn't think it through. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be the best queer and lesbian gender studies graduate ever. Hey, would you like some extra Parmesan on your Alfredo?
Yeah, you're assuming
That's what happened to these people.
But you're
I swear
assuming
to
these
God.
people are wanting or getting jobs. They're a lot of them just aren't because they think they're going to get them in an activist role. Funny thing, back in the 90s, you could get a job as an activist with gender studies and everything else. But it's one of those jobs where you don't age out. So you become if you're an expert in the 90s, you're probably still an expert today.
Exactly.
They're not.
Exactly.
And these people are certainly not moving out of the way for younger people to take over.
And that was my point. It's like, so they all presume simply because, we're getting higher education, we're going to be benefiting. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Anyway, go ahead and play whatever you want to play.
Yeah, this is an entitled whiny millennial or Z or whatever it is. I mix them together nowadays. I know not everybody's like them, but he felt he was entitled to not have to pay back his student loans.
I'm not paying back my student loans. I do not care. Oh, but what about your credit score? What am I going to do with a good credit score? Buy a house on starvation wages? Buy a car I can't afford to insure? I'm not paying them back. I don't give a shit about my credit score. Oh, they're going to garnish your wages. Most of us are underemployed. If they start taking additional money out of my paycheck, I just won't work. My life will not get worse. I'm not going to have the money anyway, so you can't garnish what isn't there. I grew up in a far-right, conservative, hardcore Republican family. And since like kindergarten, I have been conditioned to believe that if I did not go to college, I would not be successful. I was told that if I locked in, got great grades in high school, got into college, focused, and got my degree, that I would have a life similar to the life my parents had, where my dad worked one job for like 35 years, was able to buy a house and go on vacation and support his family. That doesn't exist anymore. There's no job. So what was all that work for? Generations of Americans have been told that if they went to college and billionaires were able to get these PPE loans forgiven that they took out during the pandemic for millions of dollars, but I have 30 grand in college debt left and I'm refusing to pay it back, and now I'm the problem.
Well, that's something here. Now, he's not wrong that young people do have it really tough today, and it's really hard to find work. The dollar's not worth enough, but thanks to the people they vote for. That's number one. Number two is
all right. Well, these aren't
the PPP loans.
Yeah. So look, I full disclosure. Look, I have a pest control organization come to my house. I met the guy this morning, a good kid, born in the late 90s. We had a really good conversation. He moved down here from Jersey. I don't want to use his name because I don't have his permission or anything. But we were talking because he knew what he was going to do. He says, look, we talked about challenges, about leaving the big city. This kid, I don't know him that well. I just met him, but he seems like he's got like a plan. He wants to do something. He moved south, got a good job. He said they're paying him pretty well for what he does. And he's doing something with his life. He's not like complaining that all the odds are stacked against him and he's of this age. And I was like, hey, this guy's, we had a nice 20-minute conversation about stuff. So I'm just telling you that not all kids are this whiny. It's like, no, I'm just going to go out and do something. And everybody I know just figures out, it's like, I got fired from the best job I ever had. People go through challenges all the time. As Patton once said, it's I judge people by how not by how high they make it, but how far they can come after they hit and bounce back up. And so people have to recognize that, Chris. I just think this whole whiny thing is not. Nobody cares.
Right. Now, but again, I do understand the perspective that things are a little bit different nowadays. But the fact is, you can't come out of college with a gender studies degree and a minor in and a minor in interpretive dance, and expect that you're going to get some big, high-paying job right out of college. No. Even higher paying medical degrees, you're not going to get a high-paying job coming out of college either.
I know medical professionals. I know IT professionals. You got to start at the bottom and work. There's very few jobs that are going to pay you like $100K out the door. Very few. Very few.
There are some in tech, and you might have to do some pretty weird things and horrible things to get through them, and you become part of the elite. But we have with us a gentleman who's been part of the Silicon Valley elite and knows things about them, worked among them, and wrote the book Silicon Satan, and his name is Cregg Lund. Cregg, welcome to Wake Up Patriots. Dr. Corsi's on a flight, so he won't be able to do the show today, but you're here with us, so let's have some fun.
Sure. Good morning, Cregg.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And just for the record, you're not Satan, right? This is not about you.
Not anymore. No.
Good. Okay, good. I just wanted to clear that up. That's good. So obviously, welcome to Wake Up Patriots. People are looking forward to hearing from you. So, Craig, I have a similar experience. I have, as being a retired spy, people get really upset, as you're all going to soon find out, when I talk about real things, because real things frighten people. My impression is you have to do the same thing with your book. It's like it's fiction, but it's not, right? Can you tell us about your book a little bit?
Yeah, it's fiction. It's a fictionalized account of what I saw and what I went through in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
It's it's to me, it's kind of like if you had an encounter, say, with Sasquatch, not just you saw them out in the forest somewhere, but you actually were in front of, say, 3 Sasquatches, and they're talking about you, and you can smell them, and they're right there. Well, after that experience, your worldview is going to change. You can't tell anybody because nobody's going to believe you, and even if you try, they're going to say, "Well, where's the video?" And it's like, "Well, I didn't think to videotape this." And same thing kind of happened to me. I was in a room with these creatures. I guess they used to be men. But just being in that room, just the room itself and everything that was going on, the way it smelled and these things that were in there, it changes you forever. It changes your worldview. It's like the Sasquatch analogy. I hear people still arguing about whether or not Sasquatch exists. If you had that experience, it would really aggravate you. And so I hear people always discussing whether or not the Luciferians actually exist. They exist everywhere. They've infiltrated every single institution now. They're getting ready to make their big push.
One thing I want to just throw in here. These aren't Satanists as we know and watch on television. These are the people who say, well, we're all materialistic. That's what Satanism is all about. This is Luciferianism.
Yeah,
There's a
Luciferian,
huge difference. Let's talk about that for a moment, just to clear it up for the Patriots here.
Sure. So the Luciferians, they use the Satanists as sort of like groupies. Whenever anything goes bad at one of the rituals, they'll blame the Satanists. So the Satanists are always around. The Satanists are always there. Whenever I went to any of these parties or rituals, the group of Satanists are there, the goth kids. And if you want to be a Luciferian, you're never going to be. These Satanists, they hang around. They really want to be in that circle, but they never will be. They're just useful idiots. So yeah, there's a big difference between. It's kind of like to me, I can see them. I know the difference. It's kind of like when you're a Freemason and you go into a town and you go into the lodge, and then all of a sudden you're getting a lot of help that you wouldn't normally get if you were just a regular stranger. It's just kind of the same thing with me. After a while, you get after a long time of studying, it's hard to explain to people what I see because it took so long to develop this sight. But
I get it. From being we're trying to do similar things as case officers to kind of look through things. So I understand exactly what you're saying. Okay, you see things, you see little clues that other people have no idea is clues. I get it. So please continue.
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of hid out. You can't really hide from these people. All you can do is stay off their radar. After I made my big escape, I went up north to the Lost Coast, and I have a strong background in horses, so I hooked up with some of the horse outfits up there, and just sort of blended in as another one of the drug addict meth heads cleaning stalls. And then I had a voice email back. We didn't really have cell phones that much back then. This is in the late 90s, I guess. I mean, we had cell phones, but they hadn't gone down to the pedestrian level yet. Anyway, I had a voice.
It's mostly pagers back then, but yeah.
Yeah, pagers and voice mailboxes. So I had a voice mailbox. It's not connected to a phone. It has a phone number. Anyway, I checked that, and I had an offer from the Space Naval Warfare Center in New Orleans. So I came out of hiding, and I tried to do that, but right away they were on me. So I bailed again. So like I said, you really can't hide from them. They're always there. They're always around. But I did start noticing. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say, one of the things I've noticed that the traveler communities, the gypsy communities, are very heavily influenced by this. The travelers, at least on the East Coast, are infiltrated by Luciferians. It seems like they are able to move around through this community. Do you guys have the same thing on the West Coast, or is that not true?
Not in my experience. No, not really. We didn't really mess much with travelers. These were the Satanists that we messed with were Bay Area types.
Yeah. So these are high level guys. So what is it? Why are people drawn to this? I think one of the things the Patriots are going to be very curious is we know there's evil. There's no doubt. Like you're preaching to the choir here. We know there's good and evil. But why are people in power drawn to this sort of cult. Just let's be blunt. What is call it what it is.
Yes,
Why
it's
are people
definitely
drawn to this?
it's definitely a cult. Well, power, money, and position. I wasn't drawn to the evil side. I knew all about evil, good and evil. Growing up, I just sort of kept stumbling into it. It's very easy. It's very easy to get wrapped up into it because they're very good at what they do. They're very good at choosing the right people, and they're very good at whining and dining you and getting you to take the next step and then the next step. I mean, you find yourself doing things that you thought you would never do, but the things you did last time were pretty sketchy anyway. So you might as well do this one, and then pretty soon you're so far into it that they got their hooks in you, and it's really, really hard to get out. It's really hard to get out in a lot of different ways. One is when I left a lot. I left a lot behind. I left a $12 million stock portfolio behind. And that alone is hard to give up.
Yeah. So So tell us a little bit about the book without giving it away, so people will be wanting to go pick it up. So just tell us a little bit about the kind of the framework and what they're going to learn if they read your book.
Well, they're going to get hopefully if they get through it. It was a really hard book to write, and it's even more difficult to read, I guess. If you get through it, you will come out different. You will start seeing things different. You'll understand the difference between the Satanists and the Luciferians. You'll understand why Silicon Valley has so much, political power and
corruption.
It's they've been overrun, and then you might understand a little bit more about what's really going on in the world. Is when I look at the world, I see a lot of Lucy Wars, what I call the Lucy Wars, and the analogy I use is the Game of Thrones. It's there's a lot of these houses are battling it out. All the peasants think that they're battling for them, but they're not. They're battling for their own power and prestige and position. They want to be number one.
So I posted on X on I think it was Saturday that the global powers are constantly in conflict, and we are supposed to be convinced that this is in our interest. Like 60 Minutes, we used to produce stories for you. It's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You were the mouthpiece of the deep state and Democrat Party. Don't give us that. No, we never took the knee. You were the knee. And I said on Saturday that the whole thing with all these conflicts, it's never to benefit us. It's all about these global elites seeking what I believe to be a form of global feudal mercantilism, basically feudalism.
Yeah.
The idea here is to have a few elites who control everything. We are the chattel, and Luciferianism, I think, is a good method they use to kind of get people into that and use them. Right? This is they use people, Craig. Right? This is not about trying to benefit people or mankind.
Oh yeah, they use people the way we use animals. They see us as animals.
Exactly. Exactly.
These people that I was in the room with, like I said, I don't think they're human anymore. I think they used to be, but when you walk into a room with these guys are connected to a cult that goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it's hard to explain, but as soon as you're in the room with them, you feel that you get the goosebumps. You don't know what, especially if you're young. I was a young man, and then there's things going on in the room, and it's like a whole nother world. It stinks in there, and there's things flapping around.
Yep.
Stuff, and it's dark and it's gloomy and then it gets even worse, and then when you find out why you're there, it gets even worse.
Well,
so you're basically saying it's like being on a date with Letitia James, right?
Oh,
I would take.
Hey you.
I would rather do an orgy with two Letitia James than go through that again.
Well, there you go.
Well, you're not his dad. You're not her dad, so I guess it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're not going to be. She's not going to ask you out for a date because you're not a relative.
Unless you can help her buy property in some kind of state that she doesn't live in. Again, however, a part of your book discusses, again, through the main characters who are loosely based off of you, loosely based off a woman you met there. A lot of it, some of it, and it's very important, goes to recruiting. How does a Luciferian cult look and find somebody like you or the girl that was in the female counterpart to your other character that plays opposite? How do they find these people? How do they groom them? And how do they keep them in, I guess?
Well, there's not really a recruiting process. There's not really any small excuse me. There's a small group of people at the very top, but it takes a while to get up there, to get up that high. In the meantime, in my case, and case people, a few others just like me, we just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and we had something that they wanted. In my case, I had a real affinity for math and computers and logic, especially Boolean logic. It's just very natural to me. So I was a natural at Silicon Valley. You have to actually work too. You don't just go to Silicon Valley, join these clubs, and get rich.
I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, you have to do something like that.
Right. Yeah. So you have to have a talent. Same thing with Hollywood. A lot of people, especially women, think that they can just go to Hollywood and announce that they're there to sell their soul for fame and fortune. It's going to happen.
Yeah, enough about Amber Heard.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch! Or that chick with the blonde hair from the cult. And I always forget the name of that cult, but Nixia, whatever it is. But
Oh yeah. Those are crazy people. But then what happens is you start getting invited to parties, and then there's people there, and they see that they're talking about you, and you see them talking about you, and then you get invited to another party, and then you get invited. And when I say parties, these are rituals. I mean, they come out, they start as parties, but in the back room there's something going on, and in the back room of that back room there's even something even more diabolical going on. There's levels, and then you start just moving. Pretty soon you're in the circle. They're flying you around. You're going places. You're doing things. You keep doing things, and then for me, it just got to the point I couldn't do this anymore. It got too awful. And for a lot of people,
yeah, keep going. I'm sorry, keep going.
For a lot of people, it's worth it because they're going to be, they're billionaires. I warned Dr. Corsi about a couple of characters a long time ago, and these characters are right there now. They're in the White House. They're there, and they don't have. Everybody thinks that they're there to help, but they're not. They're there for their own. First of all, for their own selfish needs, and then for whatever their handlers want them to do.
Well, so Craig, I wanted to ask you about that because I think I'm glad you brought up the billionaires, because there's certain high net worth Hollywood individuals who are in the category. They're either close to, like Oprah. I think Oprah is evil, for the record. I think these people get to a certain level and they become, to your point, inhuman. They just become numb because they've gotten everything all their life, as professionals. I'm not saying they all started off as rich, but I'm saying once they get to a certain level, everything is easy, and they start looking at themselves in some sort of messianic or spiritual, like I'm a spiritual, God. I'm the God, and they start having that attitude.
They really do. They really do believe they're gods. And since we're name dropping, one of the people I worked with very closely when I was young was Larry Ellison. Yeah, and I could tell right away that Larry Ellison's a creep, and he enjoyed these. He enjoyed these rituals. He enjoyed, and look at him today.
Yeah. So so I think that's part of it, is that because of this evil alliance, they kind of push each other along, right? I mean, that's the whole deal.
And see, Larry he's in a really good position because he basically owns Silicon Valley. He owns most of Lake Tahoe. He owns most of Malibu. Yeah. He owns all of the Hawaiian island of Lanai. And he has two offspring. They're both transgendered, a male and a female, a son and a daughter, who are, and those two are heavy hitter Hollywood directors. Name a movie and they produced it. I mean, and if you look at everything that Larry Ellison has acquired, I put out a list maybe a year ago, and it was so long that I had to speed it up. And even then, it takes too long to get through it. I mean, he owns all of Silicon Valley.
Yeah. So
now he's in the White House. That's scary to me. It's very scary. What's he doing in the White House?
Well, come on. I think we all recognize these people put on the best possible public face, and some of these things go on. Because I've heard a story. There's all sorts of stuff going on behind the scenes. I hear a lot of lawyers are involved. Just saying. I might know at least one or two lawyers who were essentially involved in this, and they are essentially the crown princes of the community, because they have to protect the whole enterprise, and they use lawfare. They intimidate people. There's all sorts of things that go on, and I think that's one of the things that people don't understand, that this is well organized. This is not just a few people getting together. This is like Amway, but only successful, right, Chris?
Yeah, Amway, but only successful. And unless you kind of are in the Amway upper circle, which is kind of another cult in and of itself. Yeah, and that's a different brand altogether.
What was their motto? Going to be a diamond someday or something?
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Well, it's funny you said it because diamond. Patton once said, "Diamond creates pressure creates diamonds. It also creates dust, and this thing is designed to turn people into dust if they go against the powers." Right, Greg. I mean, they will come after you and ruin your life. And I think it's part of what you're probably kind of worried about right now too. I mean, talking about this can't be comfortable.
Well, I've been hiding for a long time, but it was Dr. Corsi that got me to come out and start talking, and that took a long time. That took like 6 or 7 years of just working with him. I mean, I got to a point where I threw the whole book out. I didn't want it to see the light of day. And then then my mother died of COVID, and I got pissed off, so I started writing it again. But yeah, you're right. There's really not a small group. When I first met Corsi, nobody was talking about this, and I didn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to, I didn't want to get in trouble with these people, and nobody would believe me anyway. I mean, when you talk about baby, infant devouring, that sounds just too awful. Who does that? But now, now all of a sudden, it's becoming mainstream. Everybody's talking about a lot of the stuff that I kept secret for a long time, and that's good. That's a very good sign. But they're not going far enough. You got to go all the way. You can't go halfway. You can't say, everybody's got their favorite Luciferian they want to run cover for, especially on the Hollywood side. It's like, no, not him. Everybody but him. It's like, no, it's him too. If he's there, he did it. There's no other way. There's no other path.
Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I can't convince people of that enough that, I know everybody has their heroes and you want them to be perfect, but they're not, especially if they're out there.
There's clues to what you're saying hidden in plain sight all over the place. One of the best clues that I like referencing all the time, and Chris might know what I'm about to say.
I think so.
Kaiser Sose, Verbal Kent, the usual suspects. And here's the quote: "The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist."
Right.
So that's what they do. So what people will say is like, Greg's crazy. This is a conspiracy. There's nothing here. They don't, but they do. And so, and they're very smooth about it, very slick, because the last thing they actually do want is disclosure. And I think that's why they're very what. Yeah. And so we were going to cover the suicide of a certain female, which I don't think she was suicide. You want to bring it up, Chris?
Yeah, I was
Virginia Giuffre. I was talking to a lot of folks over this weekend. So, Greg, I don't want to get you in any trouble here. I don't want to imply anything, but it's very clear that people like Epstein were part of the Luciferian effort, because his job was to help compromise people to the cause, as far as I'm concerned. That's why they had that little temple on Lolita Island and all that. So, so do you believe that she committed suicide?
Well, my personal belief is no. I don't think she did. I think she went into hiding. I think she got tired of all this. It wasn't getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Years and years of this. I mean, that's what I would have advised her to do. Just fake your death and go live peacefully somewhere. You're not getting anywhere.
No, one of my friends thinks that she's in witness protection now, which I hope is true.
Let's hope so. But this is a funny thing. It was clearly masked. She was supposedly in a bus accident that the bus driver said was merely a fender bender, if anything else like that. But she apparently had renal problems leading to her death and wanted to see her kids or something like that. So yes, I could see this. I could see either a murder, or I could see a witness protection thing. I definitely could see both of those things, or one of those things happening. Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. See, there's a lot of Epsteins out there. I consider Epstein now a distraction. It makes the world believe that, okay, there's one guy and maybe 3 or 4 dozen poor victims, but we're on them. It's all taken care of now. Like, no, there's hundreds of Epsteins and there's millions of victims out there.
But the people behind them. There's something called red scarfing that you mentioned in past conversations. I think sometimes in context with even Robin Williams, if I understand correctly.
Right. So I put an article. Red scarfing is when they want to take you out and they want to send a message to the others that we just took this guy out. So what they do is you commit suicide by hanging yourself with a red scarf on a doorknob. I mean, who can do that? You can't do that. Yeah. And if you go out to my website, Silicon Satan, under articles, there's a red scarf article, and I list about
put that up there, Chris, so people can find it.
I
list maybe I don't know, a dozen or more celebrities who've been red scarfed. and it's out. So because people didn't believe me at first, so that's ridiculous. Like, no, okay, so I went out and I found all these celebrities that Robin Williams, David Carradine. It's the one with the girl with the red dress.
There you go.
If you could scroll through it down there, you'll see a lot of people who committed suicide by hanging themselves with a red scarf.
Yeah.
Now I've noticed they're not really doing that so much anymore because it's too obvious now.
Yeah. Now,
because people like me put it out there.
Michael Hutchins. That's an interesting one right there.
Yeah, he was supposedly autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah, but the setup is all wrong.
I believe that.
Oh yeah, he supposedly called Bob Geldof after arguing with his girlfriend Pamela Yates, who was Bob Geldof's ex. The timing was really weird on the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And not only that, but if it was the sexual asphyxiation thing, why a red scarf and why a doorknob and where's the lemon?
Yeah, exactly.
Can we nominate people for this? Can we nominate Don Lemon? Don Lemon.
Yeah.
Could we? Maybe Don is. No, I guess.
Yes, send him a red scarf.
Yeah, send him a red scarf.
Reddit co-founder Aaron Swartz. That's another one. That's a big one.
So the suicidal gal you just brought up. So when I look at that, the reason why I don't think that she's suicide is because it doesn't have the right setup. It doesn't have the right signs.
Yeah.
If they suicided her, it's hard to explain. Again, it's hard to explain when you study this long enough. And I didn't study it because I wanted to. I was just there.
Yeah, Bourdain, I don't doubt. Bourdain seemed to be very troubled.
He thought he knew too much somewhere along the line.
He seemed to be very troubled. Yeah.
We were talking about.
By the way, so Greg, why red? People want to know why red. They're in the chat asking why red. Why is it red? Is there a symbolism to the red?
I don't really know, to be honest. It probably goes back to something. It probably goes way, way back. I'm sure if somebody did some real research, they could probably figure that out. I don't know, but I doubt that I doubt that it was casual selection.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of, did you know that when in the old days when popes died, they used to hit him in the head with a silver hammer 3 times? I don't know why they stopped that. I think that's a great tradition. I'd pick that back up, so to speak. But I digress.
Making sure he's dead.
Well, or pretending he's Paul Pelosi. I don't know. Could be either one. Paul Pelosi is a pretty good. I think they could make Paul Pelosi the Pope. He's. I bet you. Great. Don't give it away. I think Paul Pelosi is a Luciferian because to be married to Nancy the witch, and boy, did you know that in their San Francisco home they live with flying monkeys, the ones from the Wizard of Oz. They kind of all hang out there, and it smells like a monkey house. I've heard. I don't know this, but I've heard. So no wonder Paul wanted out.
I'm pretty certain that Nancy is in the club, but I doubt that her husband is. He just
I don't doubt that she's in, and so let me ask you that. So I think both politicians of both parties, yes, Nancy. Well, I think she's a Luciferian, not a Satanist, right? People are asking, she'd be a Luciferian. She'd be part of the leadership, right? Nancy Pelosi, yeah.
She would be part of the. She'd be very close to the top of the Silicon Valley Luciferians. She's not. I don't think she's a priestess. Oprah Winfrey is a priestess, or used to be, in the Hollywood Luciferian circles.
Yeah.
But, Paul definitely not. He's just another. They have to have. They have to make it look good. Yeah, they have to have spouses.
Oh, I think he's like a what's the term for like a convenient bride or groom? He's like
husband without the trophy.
No, I think he's gay. I think he picked up that guy with the hammer guy. I think they had
something going on there.
I don't think he's into Nancy any more than Eric Swalwell is into Nancy.
Hey, but believe me, the rituals the rituals this couple has been to, it's way beyond just being gay. The things that they're into.
All right.
Gay.
So let me ask you that question. So, Vivian Kubrick is a friend of mine. Vivian being the daughter of Stanley Kubrick. A lot of people believe that Stanley Kubrick, his last movie was essentially about this, Eyes Wide Shut.
Mm-hmm.
Craig, do you think that Kubrick going into this area is what got him killed? I mean, they say he died of natural causes. You know, I don't know if I believe that. Do you?
Well,
What do you think?
I just put out an article yesterday called well, it's about Gene Hackman's legacy getting stolen. So, and the article is about what, you know, if you think of our day, the movie stars of our day, Burt Lancaster, Gene Hackman, John Wayne, that type, and compare them to today, you know, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, etc., Tom Hanks. The Hollywood Luciferians figured out that once these guys get enough power and position, they're really, really hard to handle. They go rogue, and so that's why they kind of clamped down, and that's why. And now the actors are very easy to handle. They'll do whatever they're told. But the problem is that a lot of these guys, like Gene Hackman, they're getting old now, and all old men, you know, their conscience starts to bug them. You know, everything they did, everything they did when they were a youth, you know, starts to haunt them. All the sins and debauchery that they did, it starts to get to them. And especially when you're someone like Gene Hackman, he had this really fast life, and you were going to all these parties and orgies, and now all of a sudden you're just kind of old, and they don't want you anymore. They just want you to shut up and be quiet. He probably started saying things that led them to believe that he's going to go rogue. He's going to talk. So they not only did they put him down, they ruined his legacy. I mean, everyone's going to think of him.
No doubt.
Everyone's going to think, yeah. They're gonna remember him as the old man who died, you know, rat infested, you know, cluttered up old, you know, home, and that's not true at all. So Stanley Kubrick, I think the same thing probably happened with him. He reached an age where he wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to do a tell-all. You know, that movie was sort of a step in the right direction, and then they got rid of him.
So basically, the whole thing about Eyes Wide Shut is the Luciferians really want to bore us all to death. Then is that correct?
Well, yeah. The parties aren't really like that. They're not that. Parties aren't that. They're not that snobby. You know, I mean, those kinds of things go on and worse, but they're not that opulent.
Just imagine some of the most annoying people like Katy Perry and Taylor Swift showing up unannounced. That's the kind of parties I'm sure they have.
With Harvey Weinstein.
What the hell, Craig? What the hell happened with Madonna? I mean, you think at least they try to give her enough baby's blood to keep her looking youthful, but what the hell happened there?
They held her supply back.
Well, I think a lot of them they get addicted to the chrome. They get addicted to the chrome, and that's a very controversial.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, and
I've heard I've heard it works until you don't have it. Then you like it's like the picture of Dorian Gray. You like age rapidly. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's like that movie Shangri-La. As soon as you leave Shangri-La, you not only do you reach the age you're supposed to be, but you go way past it. I mean, what's that one gal? Dion. What is her name?
Oh, Celine Dion. I forgot about.
Yeah. That one,
right.
Celine Dion.
Celine Dion. Yeah.
Same thing with her.
My heart will go on.
Instead of just
thanks a lot for that too, by the way. Jeez.
Instead of them just being quiet and retiring and be quiet, they keep coming out and they keep coming out and they keep coming out. So this is what happens to them.
Yeah,
and it's sort of a message to the others too. See, it's like, see, if you want to go out on your own, if you want to try to do what you want to do, Madonna and such, they want to go out and start their own club, I guess.
Well, this is all, we have Hollywood friends, but they're the good guys. And, and I'll just say a few names: Cherie Curry,
yes,
Susan Olsen,
good
good folks who I think know what you know and what we now know. And they've been horrified by what they've seen. And some people stay out of it. But I admire them even more now, knowing that they've been able to kind of stay above this. But man, oh man, Craig, if people are into sins of sins of the skin, who are into this idea that everything we are only is during our time on earth, you can't take money with you. You can't take this influence with you. Do these people get that detached to not understand that, hey, there's something coming after you die, and maybe you ought to think about that? Do they not understand that, they're going to be held to account at some point?
Yeah, they understand. They have their own version of religion. They have their own version of what's going on. They think that their God is a good God and that they will live forever. They do believe that they're going to punch a hole into the veil or whatever, into the dimension. They're going to take over God's throne and cast him out.
Interesting.
And I mean, they sent me to like a boot camp. I thought I was going to like a Harry Potter style castle, but it was just some office camp, office park in Bethesda.
Sounds like a Scientology. Sounds like a Scientology trip.
Very anticlimactic. But and then the old guy that was teaching us, I guess, and he was just gross and he was disgusting. But they really do believe that. They really do believe this. They really do believe that they're the chosen ones, that they're going to live forever. They believe a certain. Well, a long time ago, these guys were telling me about, watch out for mega Ferris wheels, and they didn't have mega Ferris wheels yet. Now they're all over the place, and they were trying to imply that has something to do with CERN. That somehow CERN is going.
Oh, I think there's all sorts of things. We're just discovering now the pyramids. As a matter of fact, yes, Patriots. I've been asked to talk more about what's found under the pyramids in Egypt. We'll get to it.
Well, we
Can't
can
do everything.
We can do the Antarctica one too. So that's
we'll do Antarctica too.
A lot we can talk about there.
But we got to go in the meantime. So, Craig, thank you for joining us today on Wake Up Patriots. So, one of the things I'd like to do is get some of our friends to join you. Do you think we could ask Susan or Cherie to come on with Craig sometime?
I want to get Jenny on with this one too.
Jenny,
this is something that
Jenny on too.
Jenny, because she
Jenny
was
Bellstar
Matthias for a
Matthias
long time.
Yeah, Jenny Bellstar Matthias from the Bell Stars has been fighting this for her entire career.
Yes.
So
yeah. Well, just one more point before we go is that
sure.
Like when not too long ago, a friend of mine contacted me and he had read the book and he's like, Craig, what the hell? You've gone crazy. This never went. You can live in Silicon Valley and you can have a family and you can go to church every Sunday and not know any of this is going on. The same thing with Hollywood. Just because you're there doesn't mean that you're exposed to it. There's a lot of people who have very good careers in Silicon Valley and they never knew anything about it. But they're not the billionaires. They're not the mega guys.
Yeah.
Same thing with Hollywood.
You can't pick everybody. You can't put everybody in the club. So, and there's always going to be, you got to watch out for people who are going to expose you. So I get that.
Right.
I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
we'll definitely have you back. Everybody wants you to come back. So we'll do that. So Craig, thank you for two things. First, thank you for your courage. I know from having walked the path of being a whistleblower inadvertently, you don't always know what's going to happen. It's pretty scary. So thank you for that. And secondly, thank you for being an advocate for the truth and trying to get out there and talk about this. People need to be educated. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. If it wasn't for Dr. Corsi, I never would have done it though.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we were scheduled to have.
Gary's a great guy.
With us. Yes. Yeah, we'll have to, he was he's flying right now, so that was just a kind of last minute thing.
Yeah. But and I'm sure his arms are going to be pretty tired after he gets stops flying. So
yeah, I know. I just rolled in from San Diego, and boy, do my ribs ache.
That's right. All right. Well, Craig, thank you for being here. Chris, as always, as I always tell people, even in my personal life, Chris is great because he never washes up on beaches drunk like Ed McMahon. So he's got that going for him. That's right. That's right. So so we're back tomorrow, right?
Yes,
tomorrow,
we are.
Tuesday.
I think we have a good guest tomorrow, and I actually forgot who. What? No, I'm just.
All right.
I know Karen's with us, and my brain. I broke my brain. I know I have somebody good in for tomorrow, but I'll have to.
Did you get Oprah? Did you get Oprah to come on?
No. She found out Craig was coming on, so she decided to pull back.
She could answer. Oprah,
she doesn't want to answer
anything. Can you tell us about the free cars?
I was wondering why she sent me that text message.
All right. Well, it's been a great show. Patriots, we love you. Thanks for being here. Again, Craig, thanks for being here. Chris, I guess we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.